Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Matt with your RTCG. Today we're talking about the dreaded, the most awful situation on any seller's platform there could be. The dreaded, where is my order message from buyers, okay? We're gonna be diving into this conversation about how to deal with these difficult conversations, along with, whether or not is the buyer, I'm gonna answer this question for everyone, is the buyer scamming me? Are they claiming something didn't arrive when it actually did? And how do we navigate those waters when something like that happens, or we get that gut feeling that something's not quite right? But as I said, my name is Matt with RTCG. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before we dive into the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. The channel's been growing like crazy, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone diving into the comment section as well. I love it when you guys share your perspectives and your ideas on things, because a lot of times your ideas, your perspective, they differ from what I am doing, right? They differ from my perspective and my viewpoint. I think it's so interesting, this whole idea of vantage points. We all have this different level of sight or oversight on things. So maybe I'm sitting at a 10,000 foot oversight view of it, but you're closer to the action, so maybe you're just a couple hundred feet up in the air, whereas somebody could be like 100,000 feet, see a much broader picture, and it all paints our perspective, our experience, and our opinions. I think that's so huge to life. So if that made any sense to you, thank you so much for sticking by. But just think about that when you're going through something. Maybe you don't see the full picture yet. Maybe it's important for you to zoom out, get a higher level look at things so you can put together the pieces and not have to always respond to things emotionally until you have that fuller picture in mind. So let's dive into it. The dreaded "where is my order" message on TCG Player, even on eBay, any kind of buyer to seller communication, it can be stressful, especially if you're not necessarily an outgoing person or you don't really like conflict. Luckily for me, I really enjoy being kind of an outgoing person. I enjoy meeting people, learning about them. And I really, I hate to admit this, but I really enjoy conflict. Not like in this like us versus them or me versus you mentality, but I like the back and forth. Like I can argue with people just to argue with them. I can play devil's advocate, all of that kind of stuff. It's kind of built in to who I am. I think it's important to question everything, whether that's like, I just think it's important to question things. And if you're ever in a situation where someone's discouraging you from questioning something, I think that's kind of a yellow to red flag there. Anyways, that's a whole separate tangent. I could really get off into that. I was a pastor for a while. I was in certain like Christian settings where questioning or really diving into something was discouraged. That really frustrated me, and I left those areas and those places in my life because I think it's so important that we question. And I'm not going to turn this into a faith conversation. I just want to leave you guys with that. It's always good to question things. And that's exactly what we're doing in this video. So let's dive in. So when a seller reaches out to you and says that their order's missing, I think that your first initial response is so important. And I want to stay here for a second. What is your emotional, raw, initial response to seeing that order missing message, okay? That can be so revealing, and so it can help you become more self-aware. So next time you receive a message like that, or if you can put yourself kind of in that situation right now as we're talking, think about the way that you kind of internalize that message. Do you immediately think that that person is trying to scam you, or do you immediately kind of go to a negative or more negative perspective, or are you more optimistic in how you approach it? I think there's there's a variety of ways that you could respond, but in any of those situations, your first initial raw response is always something that you should analyze and really think about, especially before you start typing any sort of response to somebody, so that you can check yourself. Because when it comes to business conversations, customer service conversations, one of the most important things is that we remove the emotion from the conversation. So if we have this raw emotional kind of response, there's no reason for us to go to the customer with that type of energy, because all we're doing is we're going to turn an already confusing or frustrating situation into a much more complex, situation that where it didn't need to go. We can take it to places, to negative places it never needed to go just by the way we respond to somebody. So even if you have a feeling, you have a gut feeling that something's off, something's not right, I do encourage you to take a step back, kind of have a broader look, a higher level look at everything, remove your emotions, check your emotions, even if you need to walk away from your computer for 10 or 15 minutes and come back, even if you need to draft your initial response in a note on your computer, walk away, come back with a fresh kind of set of eyes and kind of review and rewrite that response. I think that's the way to do it. Now, this is a lot of like customer service based conversation we're having right now, but I think there's a lot of value here, okay? Because if you can remove the emotion and really assess where the buyer is and what their grievance is, because while the customer may be saying their order is missing, there's a lot of different things that could mean. So remember, just a little recap here of what TCG Player is, eBay. Anytime you're selling low value cards in a plain white envelope without tracking, which on TCG Player, for the way I sell a lot of bulk cards. I sell a lot of these. I ship a lot of these envelopes every single week, okay? Upwards to 100 or 200 envelopes every single week. For the last like month or so, it's been at that volume, which is really exciting for me. But here's the deal, okay? I always, whenever I see that situation, I take a second, check myself, and then I want to go to the buyer and really assess what's going on. So whenever they say, hey, I just placed this order, it's not here yet, I'm really concerned, I'm frustrated, where's my order? Give me more information. I always go to the order details. There's a link within the message on TCG Player. I'm not sure about eBay, but I jump to that person's, I actually pull it up in a separate window. I have two monitors, so I'll throw it up on another monitor, and I just basically review the order. Okay, because somebody could have placed an order 5 days ago and they're frustrated it's not there yet, but the estimated delivery date isn't until next week. And they're just not fully aware. Maybe it's their first time purchasing on TCG Player and they've never experienced shipping like this. And so I always direct them to the estimated delivery date that's listed on the TCG Player order invoice. They have that online on their portal where they can see their order. And I always point them to that kind of date that is there. That way they can be aware that, this is not the exact date that your order may be arriving. An estimated delivery date is just that. It's an estimation. Your order could you could receive your order before or after this date. But if we're not even to the estimated delivery date, there really is no reason for concern here. And I always encourage the buyer at that point. I say, hey, if we reach that estimated delivery date or 3 business days after that and your order is still not there, please reach out to me. And I also let them know that every single day I visit the post office. I always check my PO box for any returns, and I let them know that if I receive their order, if it was sent back to me, I will proactively reach out to them and see about next steps there as well. That actually just happened. Buyer reached out to me about a missing order. I talked to them, watched exactly through the steps we're talking about right now, and then guess what? 2 days later, I got their order back. Turned out to be a kind of a known issue. That person just moved to their new address. The post office was kicking back mail because I guess their name wasn't directly tied to the address yet, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of different things that could happen. And so that was simple. I just let them know and I resent that order, and it should arrive in their inbox, in the next couple of days. And that's really exciting for me that I was able to help fix or address that situation, And that all was really beneficial for me to step out, remove my emotions, really seek how I could help the buyer. Because at the end of the day, that person is my customer. I want to give them a good experience, let them know that I care about all of their concerns and address it in a way that benefits them and puts them first. And that's always my goal whenever I have conversations. Now, this second part of the video is going to be more so on the other side of things, where maybe the estimated delivery date has passed, Person is claiming to have not received their order. And like, what do you do then? And how, like, what options do we as sellers have to try to protect ourselves from someone trying to game or take advantage of this system? Because the truth is I've sent, if you look at my TCG player stats, I think I'm somewhere between 16 to 1700 sales right now, which is awesome, getting close to that 2000 mark. Really excited about that. But the truth is in 1700 orders, it's very, very rare for orders not to arrive to their destination. Of course it can happen. And I think when I first started selling, this was one of my biggest concerns with shipping plain white envelopes, was just the uncertainty about things getting to where they're supposed to be going. But the truth is the Postal Service is, I hate to say it because it doesn't seem like it sometimes, but they are a well-oiled machine. They do an amazing job. I know a lot of times, the post office I've gone to my post office, they look at my envelopes and they're like, this is kind of sketchy. Like, we think this should be all of your, one person said, I think all of your envelopes should be non-machinable. And I had to have a lot of back and forth with that person. We had to talk to the postmaster, all this sorts of stuff, just so I could ship like one card in a plain white envelope. And that person meant the best for me. They didn't want what I was shipping to get damaged, and that's why they were saying that. But at the same time, for me to run my business effectively, I can't be I can't be spending so much money on postage that it eats away at all of my profit margin. And so luckily all of that got worked out. But just a quick shout out to the Postal Service. They do an amazing job. I would say like 90% plus of the orders that you ship get to their destination, and they get there safely, of course. So shout out to the Postal Service. They kind of rock, okay? They're kind of the superstars here. So what do you do when a buyer reaches out past that date, they're claiming that something's missing? Well, first of all, I would follow all of the steps from the first part of this video. Remove your emotions, try to assess the buyer's concerns, try to put their needs first, put yourself in their shoes and see how you can best service and serve them. And then after that, if you still feel like something's off, like something's not quite right, you think to yourself, I think this person did receive their cards and they're claiming not to have. Well, in that situation, never, ever, ever attack or accuse somebody in a DM, okay? That's not beneficial for anyone. It's not beneficial for anyone. It's not gonna do anything to help your business or help you continue to grow. If you cause a grievance or if you throw out accusations like that, chances are they're gonna leave a negative review. They're gonna escalate it to TCG Player. You're likely gonna get in trouble because you shouldn't be doing that. And they could go even further if they know you have a social media presence. If you're online, on YouTube, they're gonna they're gonna post a video about it, right? They're gonna write a scathing letter, get that out there and let people know. They're gonna leak those DMs, right? So what I would do is I would always stay positive in your communication. Even if you think you know for a fact, like 120%, this person tried to steal cards from you. I would keep it positive. I would communicate all of the facts. I would communicate that it's very rare for the Postal Service to lose orders. I would let them know that you're checking with your post office for the next several days to see if any orders have been returned to sender. And then I would give them a very direct date. I would say like, hey, it's Monday, but by end of day on Friday, if you still haven't received your order, if I still haven't gotten it sent back to sender, we will talk about next steps. And oftentimes for me, if nothing resolves by Friday, what I will do is I will let the buyer know. I'll say, hey, sorry, we couldn't find your order. We couldn't find a solution here. I'm going to issue a full refund here. And I always do that. If the order is claimed to be missing, you've exhausted all of your options to try to find that order, I always issue a full refund. But remember, this is a situation where we have a feeling that someone may be trying to take advantage of you as the seller. After I issue the full refund, send all of the reasoning and message to the buyer. After that, I will go into the order and I will make sure to block that buyer. I haven't had to block a lot of buyers in my time selling on TCG Player so far, but I have done it a couple times. I would always, 100% of the times, if you feel any If you feel in your gut at all that something is sketchy, doesn't quite add up, just try to solve the buyer's concerns in the most positive and professional way that you can. And then after all is said and done, go ahead and block that person. They can't buy from you again. You don't have to worry about that at all. You just remove that worry, that stress from your life by simply blocking that buyer. That may seem really harsh to some people, but honestly, I think that's good business. Okay? Do not ever be afraid to sever ties with somebody that's being toxic or negative, or that has stolen from you. Anything like that. That's okay to do that in business. Because the truth is maybe I'm just not the right person. Maybe I'm just not the right seller or business for that person. And maybe there's somebody else that can be a better fit for them. Or if they're like if they're doing this over and over again, first of all, TCG player will notice that, especially since like you can escalate things and all of that if you have worries about that. But blocking them just removes all of that stress from my life. So I really recommend that. Anyways, thank you so much. I hope this really helps when it comes to the dreaded "where is my order" messages on TCG Player or any other platform you're selling on. Just remember, remove your emotions. Try to always have a more positive outlook. See how you can serve the seller, because that person did go to your shop, did buy from you, and did support you. So try your best to alleviate and address all their concerns and their problems in the most professional and positive way. And if needed, if you feel any sort of way about it, you can block them when it's all said and done. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you for the next one. Peace.